What's up, my friends here in the swamp? It's been a while since I did some true crime reactionary content, and honestly, if you don't know, I've been busy. I have a second channel called Swamp Dweller Live, where I be uploading every single day on lolcows, satire, comedy. If you like to laugh, you like to make fun of stupid people on the internet, that's where we're at right now. So come join me over there. But in lieu of all of that, I've been catching up and watching a bunch of true crime stuff still. So I figured, why not come over here on the Swamp Dweller channel and start doing some of that again? It's been a while, so let's jump right into it. The Lori Vallow case is deep. It's crazy. There's tons of conspiracies. There's religion, the Latter-day Saints. There's all kinds of crazy Nephi's going on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into it and just try to figure out what the heck's happening. So Lori Vallow Daybell apparently allegedly murdered her husband and wanted to marry another man and move on with her life, you know, because that's how you get out of a marriage, right? But here she is, trying to defend herself and be her own lawyer in this case. So we're going to see how this shit show goes.
Detective Coons, I know we didn't really establish yesterday. I know that you're retired. Is that okay if I call you Detective Coons, or would you prefer something else?
Detective is fine.
Okay, thank you. Detective Coons, yesterday you testified that no stippling was found as a result of the shot on my husband's chest. Is that correct?
To my knowledge, none was found.
Okay. So would it surprise you if the medical examiner expressed in his defense interview that there was stippling found in that shot?
Would it surprise me that he had found it? Not necessarily based on the information.
So something you'll notice a lot about Lori here, she's going to say the same question like 10 times in a row, just slightly different, trying to get some sort of answer that she's hoping to get from this guy.
Would it surprise you if the medical examiner expressed that the shooter would have had to be 2 to 4 feet away for that stippling to be present?
And this is from your interview or from the report?
From the interview.
Okay. No, that actually would still be consistent with my observations at the scene.
I love how homie's just like, nah, girl, it doesn't matter if it's your review, homeboy's review down the street. My review stays the same, girl. The facts are the facts.
If someone very muscular like my husband were 2 to 4 feet away from you holding up a bat, would you consider that a threat?
And I would object to speculation, relevance.
Your Honor,
Honestly, it's the same. I totally agree with that lady. It's like, what does this have to do with anything? Like, yes, Lori, anybody with a weapon, doesn't matter if it's a bat, a stick, a gun, it doesn't matter how big they are. If they're in front of me, threatening me, saying they're gonna beat me, yes, I'm gonna take that as a threat.
I'm asking for his opinion as a professional and as a firearms expert.
He's not, okay.
That goes to the ultimate
Hold on.
decision.
The objection is sustained and it calls for a legal conclusion.
It calls for a legal conclusion?
Yes, move on.
Clearly, Lori is in way above her head. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. It calls for a legal conclusion. It's like, no shit, Lori. You can't just say, hey, you knew this or you knew that, right? That's why you made this decision, right? It's like, no, Lori, that's not how law works.
Were you present, Detective, when my husband was shot?
No, ma'am.
Obviously, like, what the hell kind of questions are these? This is why you need a real lawyer, and we shouldn't let psycho loonies like Lori Vallow be able to, like, represent themselves. I don't care about, like, honestly, sometimes those stupid laws don't make any sense, because it's like, oh, well, you have the right to represent yourself. They don't know what they're doing. They're just gonna get wrecked. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, let's let somebody who's blind lead the ship, right? Because they're gonna lead us into a bunch of rocks.
To my knowledge, no.
So is your opinion then an educated guess about what really happened?
It's based on known facts.
Lori.
Were you aware, Detective, that my husband and my brother were very good friends?
No, ma'am, I didn't know their relationship.
Did you know that they hung out and played golf together?
Objection, relevance.
No, honestly, how the hell is any of this relevant to the murder case here? Like, I'm not really understanding.
Sustained.
Your Honor, I'm going somewhere with this.
I guess.
My follow-up question will explain.
God, this has to be so annoying if you're the fucking judge.
I guess you can answer if you knew that they played golf.
I did not know.
In all of your investigation of my life, you never came across this information?
Objection, relevance.
No, seriously, like, what relevance does this have?
Sustained.
Are you familiar with my husband's wishes for his funeral?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
Why?
Did you learn in your investigation that he named my brother Alex as one of his 5 best friends?
And I'm going to object again to relevance.
Sustained.
She hasn't said a relevant thing in the past 5 freaking questions.
Did you read the reports in this case?
I did not read all of the reports in this case. No, I've read mine and I've authored mine, but I have not read the other reports.
None of the other reports except for your own?
That's correct.
Okay.
As he should, so his opinion is not skewed by other people's opinions. Like, you made his report based off the facts that he witnessed. It's not that hard, Lori.
Detective, are you familiar with the follow-up report you wrote dated July 29th, 2019?
You're going to have to be a little bit more specific.
Did you review your reports in preparation for your testimony here today?
Lori, you don't need to be a condescending, passive-aggressive B-word. That's not how this works, brother. Law is about wording, composure, and presentation. If you're going to act like an emotional weirdo, you know, your results are going to vary.
Yes, but I have not memorized the dates of when I made a report entry.
Okay. Would you like to see it to refresh your recollection?
That would be helpful.
Okay.
Crazy. That's how law works. Sometimes you gotta refresh the people's memory to get the best, most accurate testimony, Lori. So do a little bit of work. Start skedaddling over there. Get him those papers.
Okay.
Does that look like a true and correct copy of your report, Detective?
I believe it is.
And those Bates pages run from what to what, please?
They're obscured in the footnotes of it, but it looks like it's 126 through 131.
Now, Lori's gonna harp on this pretty hard in the next couple of minutes. It's kind of crazy how heavy she's gonna try to lean on this, but just keep in mind that everything she says is 100% unfounded.
Okay. And on the last page of your report, on Bates page 131, you explain what a shored wound is.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you read that underlined portion?
I would object to hearsay to reading it.
Sustained. You can ask him to explain what a shored wound is.
Okay. Can you explain to us what the shored wound is that you explained in your report?
Yes, a shored wound would be a wound created as an exit wound where the projectile is exiting the body and the body is either up against a firm surface or firm material like spandex type thing. That's how it's been explained to me.
So she's going to harp heavily that the shirt that her husband was wearing was made by a company that makes bamboo clothing. And while he just said if it's very close to your body, like spandex, it's you know, there, it might hold in some sort of force, it's very unlikely that this would have much to do with anything at the end of the day. But Lori's going to take any small thing she can get and try to take that inch and stretch it into a mile. But again, it's entirely unfounded.
That's fair. You said held in place by tight clothing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you, in fact, and it says in your report, did you, in fact, collect my husband's clothing?
Yes.
And you took the clothing, it says, to the property storage facility. Is that correct?
Yes, it went to a drying cage.
Some of these questions are genuinely just brain dead. It's like, duh, these are just like the most basic police procedures. Like, this is how any case is going to be treated.
Detective, are you familiar with bamboo clothing?
Can't say that I am.
Are you, the viewer, familiar with bamboo clothing? Because I'm not. I guess I'm broke. Shit.
Were you aware that on July 29th, 2019, my husband was wearing a $200 bamboo workout shirt?
$200, baby girl.
Objection to relevance.
He can answer if he knows.
I have no idea what the cost is.
Are you aware that bamboo is a heavy-duty fabric, not to rip or tear except under extreme conditions?
Dog, if you're getting shot, I don't care if it's a 22, a 9mm, a 45, a goddamn AK-47. Like, it's gonna go through the shirt. I don't care if it's bamboo, if it's paper, it's cardboard. Like, what is this argument?
I've not done any research into bamboo fabric.
Okay. So could this fabric of his shirt have caused the wound to be short?
It could have been a contributor, but it would not have been in this particular case.
Why so?
Because he got shot.
Would have been on the floor where the bullet defect was in the floor.
So you just said in your report earlier that a short wound could be caused by tight clothing. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you're saying that could not have happened in this case?
The shirt did not appear to be tight clothing to me.
Well, it was made of bamboo, as we established, right?
Okay, it's made of bamboo. Doesn't mean it's tight fitting.
I am taking your word for it. I do not know that it's a bamboo shirt.
Okay. And you did not investigate that at all?
Oh, that's gonna be her ace in the hole here, boys. They didn't investigate whether the shirt was bamboo or not. That means she has nothing to do with murdering her husband.
And you did not investigate that at all?
No, ma'am.
But you had the shirt in your possession?
It was seized as evidence, yes.
And you never checked what kind of fabric it was?
No, ma'am.
Because it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, some fucking silk, some goddamn African silkworms. It can be some bamboo from Asia. It can be a goddamn Swampy D special artichoke leather. You know, it don't matter, brother. It's gonna get shot right through. It's a goddamn bullet, G.
And you never checked if that could be a possibility?
No, ma'am.
And you knew that spandex was kind of a material that could make that kind of shored mark?
And we're saying that, like, these shored marks could happen in very certain circumstances, under very certain circumstances. Just because he was wearing a bamboo shirt, it doesn't matter if it was this tight on him or not. It doesn't mean a shored wound would happen. That has nothing to do with anything. Bro got shot. I don't know what we're harping on here.
That you just mentioned, correct?
It would have to be super tight clothing.
Super tight clothing.
Yes.
Or a fabric that's even stronger than the spandex that you mentioned.
What's gonna be stronger than a bullet, brother? Tell me. Can't give me one fabric.
The strength of the fabric, I don't believe,
I'll wait.
has a huge play in it unless it is form-fitting and compressing the skin,
Thank you.
much like a hard surface or firm surface would.
But what you said in your report was that held in place by tight clothing could cause a shored wound.
Lori really doesn't have anything to lean on here, so she thinks if she can just exploit the wording just a little bit, it's gonna get her out of this case. But again, you murdered your husband, Lori. What are you gonna do?
As has been explained to me, yes.
Detective, in your report, you mentioned,
Any day now, Lori. Damn, Loris. Are you not goddamn prepared?
so it is possible that his shirt could have caused the wound and not the fall.
No, not at all. Like, not at all.
I object to asked and answered.
Genuinely asked and answered 50 freaking times.
I'll let him answer.
Judge.
I don't know if it's possible or not for that particular shirt to have caused a shored wound.
Because you did not do any investigation about the shirt.
Yeah, that's it. That's for sure it, Lori. We didn't do any investigating. That's why we know for sure the shirt didn't cause your husband to die.
Because you did not do any investigation about the shirt.
Because the shirt did not appear to be form-fitting and very tight.
Did it cover over the shoulder where the wound was?
Well, yeah, it's a shirt.
It was a full t-shirt at the time.
That's what I'm saying. So was the t-shirt where the wound was on his back, where the bullet exited, was his shirt covering that part of his body?
Certainly.
Okay. Was there a hole in the shirt at that location?
Yes.
Duh.
How big was the hole?
Size of the bullet?
Like, I don't know. I guess maybe some of these questions are kind of, like, relevant, but, like, they're just, like, such common sense. It's like, duh?
So small.
Imagine trying to be the smartest person in the room, but you're clearly the dumbest. Like, that's who Lori Vallow is.
Small.
Fabric stretches and contracts. So it was a bullet size.
So when you had this shirt and you saw the bullet hole, it was after the shirt had been cut off by the firefighters. Is that correct?
It hadn't been cut off. It had been cut down the middle, down the front,
So just the front was cut. So the back was intact.
minus the defects that we have seen from the bullet and exits, yes.
So you were able to measure that. Do you have a measurement for those bullet holes in the shirt?
No, ma'am.
I mean, I'm sure it's documented somewhere, but like for him to have it right off top of memory, it's like, come on, man.
Okay. So it is possible that his shirt could have caused the wound.
No, not at all, Lori. Like, the shirt didn't cause him to get shot. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, the shirt pulled out the .45 Smith & Wesson, brother, and shot me right in the chest. Like, I'm sorry, like, what are we arguing?
Again, that we've asked and answered this 3 times
Sustained.
now.
Okay. So is it possible that any shirt could have caused a shored wound in any kind of,
And I'm going to object to foundation as to any overly broad.
as an expert?
Let me rule on the objection.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I'll sustain
Yeah, shut the fuck up, Lori.
the objection.
As an expert and in your professional opinion, could that fabric of his shirt that he was wearing that day caused a shored wound?
No.
Again, I'm going to object to asked and answered multiple times.
Sustained.
In the last paragraph of your report, Detective, you indicate that you were able to confirm your suspicion of the body position at the scene. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you mean by suspicion?
Well, at the time, I couldn't see through his body to see the full trajectories, so I did need the information from the autopsy. The trajectory rods helped with that, as well as the doctor's statements. All of that combined did give me the 2 different bullet paths.
And then, can you tell me, Detective, what happened to my husband's shirt? Do you know where it is now?
It is in evidence, as
Duh. Like, nah, we just threw that shit out in the fucking garbage.
far as I'm aware.
And it's When you looked at it, where was it?
The last I physically saw that shirt was when I handed it off to a crime scene tech to put into a drying cage with the instructions, once it was dry, to have it moved into the property facility.
And so did you see it after it was in the property facility?
No, ma'am, I have not.
So you saw it before it was dried, is that correct?
While it was wet from the medical examiner's office, yes.
And that's when you examined it.
I had seen it at the scene as well.
Did you ever examine it?
No, ma'am.
He said like he didn't like 3 times now. I just don't get how many times she has to reiterate, the exact same question. I'm just not understanding.
Okay, so you saw it twice.
That's fair.
Okay. So you didn't test it for anything?
I did not.
Did anyone test it for anything?
I
that
do
you're
not
aware
know.
of? That you're aware of?
I do not know.
So you're not aware of it?
Correct. I do not know if anybody else tested it.
Okay.
Why would he know? That's not his job.
Was the wood floor tested for any fragments of the projectile?
It was actually seized, so it was not tested.
What does seized mean?
We cut it out of the floor and kept it.
Right, and then was it tested after it was seized?
No, ma'am.
That I will agree with. That's a little weird. Why would you seize it if you're not going to use it for anything? Seems a little bit pointless.
So the wood floor plank that was taken from my residence was never tested for any fragments of the projectile?
The projectile was intact, minus a deformity to it.
Okay. But there wasn't any reason, are you saying there was no reason to test it?
There had been no implication or indication that there was a request for it to be tested.
See, I don't think it needs to be requested though. Like if you're taking it out of somebody's house, especially like a portion of somebody's floor or wall or whatever, test it. Like what do you mean?
And you wouldn't do that to see if the projectile actually hit the floor?
No, ma'am. All the other circumstances and information that led up to that decision to seize the floor, everything appeared that it was going to be related to the actual bullet that passed through your husband's body and struck the floor.
Wouldn't testing the floor actually be the easiest way to be sure that the bullet hit the floor?
Not necessarily would it leave anything behind. Like I said, the bullet was a full metal jacket. It was still intact. There had been a significant amount of blood that had pooled in it. I do not know if there would be residue left behind in it for testing.
Hey, I mean, he's being honest, man. I don't know what more you could ask from this man.
Fair. Okay. Was the projectile tested for any marks from the floor?
No, ma'am.
Were you aware that this was a rental house that we lived in?
I believe I'd heard that.
Okay.
Not sure, like, what relevance that has, but okay.
Were you aware that we had only lived there for about 3 weeks prior to this incident?
Also irrelevant.
I knew it was a short time period, but I did not know the actual duration.
Did you know that? You know that by the time you wrote this report, right?
I don't recall knowing the exact time frame that you had lived there.
Okay.
And why would he? Why does that matter? Like, this is about somebody shooting your husband in your home. Like,
So the defect in the floor of the rental house that we lived in could have already been there before this incident.
well, yes, he said that like 8 times now. We're 15 minutes into this. Like, what the
Is that correct?
Not in my opinion, no.
But it could have.
An objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
Sustained.
So of all the divots that we saw yesterday in the pictures on the floor, it could not have been there beforehand?
And again, asked and answered.
I'll let him answer. Go ahead.
The divots I believe you're referring to were extremely smaller than the actual defect, which was still relatively fresh and not sealed like the other divots were.
Well, that was obvious, Lori. Come on. You're just making yourself look dumber and dumber.
Okay, can we see? These were previously published, so I can use them, right?
Yeah.
Can we look
Just
at these?
refer to the exhibit number, please.
Okay. Just put it on. Detective, can you see that? I can't see that very well from there. So in Exhibit 57, Detective,
I'm looking.
this, where my pin is pointing,
Yes, ma'am.
that's the defect that you're referring to where the bullet struck. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And these defects were already previously at the residence. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And did they?
I, just looking at this now, can tell they are completely different. And you can tell one is completely fresh and one is completely not fresh. So, Lori, I don't know what you're trying to argue here, buddy.
They look that much significantly different than that to you?
Yes, they do.
What do you think the measurement difference in that And that is, in your professional opinion.
There is no scale in this photograph. It would be difficult for me to give you an estimate.
So in your estimation, defect is much larger than this defect. Is that
Clearly, you can see that there is a much larger, defect in the first one compared to the latter, but all right.
correct?
The second defect you're pointing to appears to be wood grain indentations. The other is an actual defect in the board.
Okay,
I'd agree.
thank you. But this defect, this piece of wood that was cut out, was not tested. Is that correct?
Again, asked and answered.
Technically correct, but I'll let him answer.
Correct. To my knowledge, it was not tested.
Thank you.
Why would it be, though? I agree to an extent with her on that one. Why take a piece of wood out of the house? Why take anything out of a crime scene if it's not going to be tested thoroughly? But at the end of the day, if it's kind of irrelevant, you can answer it without testing it, then, what are you really arguing here?
So do you know, detective, for a fact, that the defect on my wood floor was caused by the second bullet?
Yes, baby girl, we've said that like 30 times.
Again, I'm going to object to asked and answered.
Sustained.
When we looked at the projectiles yesterday, the one from the baseboard clearly had white paint on it from the baseboard. Is that correct?
Baseboard or the drywall, perhaps.
Okay, but we all saw the white paint. Is that correct?
There was a white marking on it.
Was that tested for the white paint?
So there has to be a very, 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 very big difference here. You gotta realize that there's a difference between white paint and white markings. She wants to say white paint, while the experts are saying white markings. It could be from drywall, it could be from paint, etc., etc. But the difference between white markings and white paint is very significant.
No, ma'am.
Why not?
There was no decision made to have it tested.
Because it was logical that it was in the baseboard where the baseboard was painted white, right?
It was very clear that it had passed through your husband and lodged in the baseboard. And upon recovery, there was no deformation to it, indicating that it was a straight-on impact or relatively close, so that it embedded itself into the baseboard.
Correct. So it wasn't tested because it really didn't need to be.
Well, goddamn, Lori, you answered your own question. It wasn't tested because it didn't need to be tested because it's fairly obvious what went down. And the scientific trajectory shows that it went right where it was supposed to be. But yet you want us to sit here and do all these convoluted tests and waste all this time to prolong this thing so you don't have to sit in jail. Guess what, my friend? You're sitting in jail anyway. You're going to be stuck in jail this whole time. And then after this, when they find you guilty, you're going to be sitting in jail even more.
Your opinion.
Correct.
Okay. That's fair. Next, we looked at the projectile that, according to you, made the defect in my wood floor. Is that correct?
I don't understand your question. Next, we look at it, but I don't see anything.
Oh, we saw the projectile. Can I find out what exhibit that was?
Legal has all those photographs.
Can we use the actual
Yeah,
exhibit?
She can approach and
Yeah, this is kind of cringe. I'm not going to lie to you. This is where we're going to end this first part, though. I know it only says we're 21 minutes into this, but there's a bunch about to come up, a bunch of different witnesses. We're going to make an episode out of each witness that comes up here. This guy's about to get out of here, but we'll finish this real quick. But I'm telling you guys, unfortunately, Lori is cooked.
do you want her to hand that to the witness?
Detective, for the record, you're looking at exhibit 239. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that the projectile that we are talking about that you claimed made the divot in my wood floor?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So was that projectile was not tested? Is that correct?
Your Honor,
Is that what you
I'm
said?
going to object to asked and answered.
Again, how many times are we going to ask the same question in 10 roundabout ways?
At least 3 times.
Sustained.
Does that projectile look pristine to you?
No, ma'am. As I've previously testified, it is slightly deformed.
What?
No bullet. It doesn't matter where you shoot it. It's pristine after you shoot it, Lori. I shouldn't have to tell you that. An expert shouldn't have to tell you that. That's common sense.
Side is it deformed on? What part about it is deformed?
The back end to heel area is compressed a little bit so that it's now oval as opposed to circular.
And that would indicate
Like somebody had shot it.
what?
That would indicate that as the bullet struck something firm on its side, it compressed. and then it continued on moving.
Like it was shot.
Okay. So that's what you mean by a shored wound. It hit up against something. Is that correct?
The terminology as it's been described to me is it's the skin is against a firm surface. So in this particular case, the floor would be the firm surface. So as it's entering.
So if you're not understanding, like Lori's not, basically the guy got shot, but he was pressed up against a hard surface. So when the bullet went through him, it bounced back. It's really not that hard to understand what's going on. If you're pressed up against a floor, a wall, a substance that would bounce back a bullet anyway, it's likely going to bounce back. Your body is a shield of meat, so that bullet that's coming through you, that's hitting, it's especially an FMJ, it doesn't just stop when it hits something. It's not like a hollow point, right? That's why, like, when we do home defense, we want hollow points. It's going to hit you, and it's going to come in this small little hole. It's going to come out in a big hole, but it's going to stop, essentially, right? That FMJ could go through you, could go through your door, could go hit the neighbor. That's why FMJs are not really that great when it comes to home defense. She's just not getting it because she doesn't know anything about guns, and that's why idiots shouldn't be doing crimes like this. But this is where we're going to end this one. Next, we're going to get the next person who comes up. It's going to be one of Charles, which is her husband's exes. That was, I guess, not really an ex, but somebody who was slightly starting to date him around the time that he got murdered. She didn't even know he died. She thought she was just being ghosted until she saw his murder online. And that's what the next episode is going to start.